Well, we just did a philosophical video, but today's is also going to be kind of more of a farm pondering.
It's been a really deep weekend. We've had a lot of time for contemplation. We took a bit of time to head down to the cottage
And
do some family discussion, some family time, and try and come up with a little bit of what is missing for everybody and what everybody wants, I guess, and desires from life,
how
the
to make
farm.
life more enjoyable and still productive.
Yes. One thing that we have found, I would say it's ongoing, and not going to sugarcoat it, but this discussion, I suppose, has come up before. And I'm sure everybody that tries to do the homesteading and tries to do everything, especially with kids, has had this discussion of when is enough enough? When is it too much?
Or how are you using your time, resources, and whatever versus the returns. So
Yeah.
I guess, long story short, we're still going to be homesteading, / growing food, whatever you want to call it. And the one thing that came out of the discussion pretty much unanimously was gardens are extremely, extremely useful and important. And although they are a ton of work, the return is substantial. So that's something that...
and it was great to see that the kids thought that as well.
Yes, and so that's something that I guess out of this discussion over time we will continue to grow that garden side of things for sure. But the other parts of the discussion, I think, went down to, without getting into any specifics, some key thoughts on, I guess, how to just make things a little better.
Yeah, how to make the homestead more manageable.
Financial.
Yeah.
How to basically save money, which I think is something that over time we've
slowly been striving towards and thinking we were making the right choices to get there. But it's definitely needed some fine tuning. And I think upon discussion, we've kind of worked out some pros, cons, and things like that on the different stuff.
I guess the key points from the discussions have been how to reduce costs. Obviously, the point is to eat better. So what are some ways? I mean, we think we're relatively decent at that, but at the same time, you can always take it just that little bit further. So that's a big recurring theme.
The outgoings tend to fluctuate on the heavier side than the benefits. So that was one of the main discussions, as Chris just said. Time management, time invested. One thing we have come to the realization of is the farm has expanded to the point that there is very little time for even the family time, because we don't force the kids to have to do everything with us all the time. So I think it has come down to figuring out time management and which things are giving us the best benefit for the amount of time invested.
Sort of long-term, I'm going to use the term sustainable, but
yeah,
what things, I mean, we're not that old, but what things can we
still be doing in 30 years?
And so that's kind of looking really long-term at how to balance everything.
Yeah. And I think just getting a real clear picture of the kids' opinions on things, I think, was a real...
Oh, it was very helpful.
A real good exercise to do, and I definitely recommend that for anybody who does have children and likes to homestead.
That are old enough.
Old enough, yeah. Ours are 8 and 10. Alex is 8 and James is 10. And this is the first time I think that they've actually sat down and we've had the discussion with them and they've understood what we're trying to get at and have given us really good feedback. The one thing that I will say I was floored with was how much they had already absorbed from us and did know, and how much opinion they actually had. Because they did. They had their own opinions, they had different thoughts, and their thoughts were also different than our thoughts, which was kind of interesting. And so now we're going to try and move forward with that and kind of keep you guys in the loop.
And how much you actually need, which of course that's a loaded question, because to feed one person for a year, you need a lot of food. But how much of certain things do you need, and how much diversity do you need to do that?
Yeah,
so that's definitely
loops back to the diversity of the.
So it's definitely another thing to think about.
So you can definitely prepare yourself for some good farm ponderings and discussion on some decisions that we have to make. And to be honest, we haven't made all of them yet. It was just a great weekend for discussion, and I think it's going to be exciting to see how we move forward and some of the changes that we might make.
Yep, there's definitely going to be changes. Like we say, we're still going to be homesteading, we're still going to be gardening, we're still going to be raising animals, we're still going to, but we are going to make some changes with that. So on that note, I guess we'll kind of probably leave this one there, and you'll just have to stay tuned for what some of those changes
to see
are.
what those changes are. If you have any suggestions on things we should change, put them in the comments below.
Your own changes. I think that's
things that you've come across in your time homesteading.
When you've been doing it long enough, you're well past the experimental phase, and then you eventually get to the point of just what's going to work.
Decisions have to be made.
Yeah, what's going to work for you. And that's the other thing I think I will say is what's going to work for us isn't necessarily going to work for everybody, because it all depends on your goals, your resources, your time, your situation, your location. Like it's, your abilities, that all factors into it. So that's where it becomes extremely individual as to where you take a homestead.
Yeah.